Oh, okay. It does, yeah. All right. Thank you for coming out. Feel free to take extra slices of pizza.
Yeah, got everything.
Because there's plenty. There is some ice in the freezer if you need it for your refreshment, your waters or sodas. But thanks for coming out today. So a couple months ago, I started putting this together. Just if you know me, it was an email with the address and the agenda, and that was my invite to you. Very simple. And through conversation with one of my networking partners, Jude, he said, "Hey, where are you having it?" And I said, "I don't know, but I have, 20 people confirmed so far." Yeah, this is happening. He said, "Well, we have space here in our building at the bank. What do you think about using our space?" And I said, "It sounds like it could work." So I came and looked at the space, and as I was looking at the space, we started chatting some more, and he said, "How about a guest speaker?" And I was like, "That sounds like a great idea." And so it just worked out so easy and simple, and thank you for everyone for attending today. So I'm Kelly. If I don't know you, I want to. It's nice to meet you. I work at Asure. For the past 24 years, I've been in the HR services and payroll software compliance business. Yes. And been having a good time. It's not very dazzling, but good thing I am. But
You got to put that on your business card. Well, that's not dazzling, but I am. I'm going next lunch and learn.
I've always wanted to do stand-up comedy for our industry, but hell, I'm going to open it up to everyone. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it to Jude, who is my host, thank you, co-pilot, rather, for this event. He's not as dazzling, but good thing our speaker is as well. So I'll pass it to Jude to introduce himself and our speaker today. Do you need to
Okay. Man, it's like I have teenage daughters, so we do like the Just Dance thing, and it's like, you guys know that anyway. So yeah, Kelly makes me sound like I'm brilliant, but this is really self-serving for me when she's like, "Yeah, lunch and learn," and I'm like, you know what? I don't know. I'm an old guy. I don't know anything about AI. So I was like, yeah, there's this guy in this other networking group. He's doing all kinds of stuff. Let's invite him. And if we give pizza and stuff, maybe he'll come and talk to us about that. So we did sucker him into this today, but we're pretty excited. I do work for Bank of the West, soon to be BMO. We were bought by Bank of Montreal. This is one of our headquarters here. I'm a small business specialist working with solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, early life cycle businesses, helping them grow and establish their businesses. So lots of bankers here today, well represented. Appreciate that. Welcome, and hey, there's enough business for all of us, right? Yeah, for sure. So without further ado, our guest today, after years of lighting design, tech development, building startups, hosting talk shows, podcasting, filming content, investing and running a nonprofit, if that wasn't enough and he wasn't tired enough, has recently turned his attention to being a business strategist and advisor, publishing 17+1 books on Amazon, investing and founding new businesses, is a master networker for sure, and startup ecosystem advocate and mentor, advisor, and ambassador. Please help me welcome Joseph Hecker.
Thanks, guys. I'm mic'd up. So,
You're mic'd
yeah.
up. Do I need to turn that off or do anything with it?
No, leave it on, and I'll pass it out. And
Put that away from me.
perfect. And I can go ahead and work that if you want. I can do the buttons. Yeah, it'll be.
Sit here and do it. I'm happy to.
Oh, it's okay.
Whatever you want.
So AI is already here, and it came onto the scene fast. So the big question is, how will you leverage it? And so we're gonna kind of dive into that today.
My name is Joseph Hecker, and I will be doing my entire presentation in AI, using AI. I will not actually be here for the presentation. You will simply watch a video and engage with a hologram. And that is how I am able to be in multiple places at the same time and generate passive income. Welcome to the future. Hey Hey guys.
So before I get started, if I say anything that resonates with you guys, if you guys have any questions and you guys want to follow up, scan the QR code. Feel free to take your phone out now. You'll have it up. It's just a free discovery call, so you guys I can follow up with you guys, because I know sometimes we won't get into all the questions, and that way you guys we can do a little one-on-one. So feel free to. Also, I have been a longtime supporter of Feeding America, so if you guys were to engage with anything that I have to offer, 10% goes to Feeding America to help end food scarcity in America. So right across the board, 10% of everything. So my name is Joseph Hecker. How many of you guys have been out to Las Vegas? So I started out in lighting design. I designed light fixtures for hotels and casinos. I have designed 2 of the world's largest chandeliers. So that's how I kind of cut my teeth. In 2012, I stepped into, and if you throw a rock at the Vegas Strip, I've got a fixture in pretty much every major casino except for the new Resorts World. And Circa, although I did date for a year the director of design for Circa, so I did have influence, but no designs. In 2012, I went from interior designing light fixtures for hotels and casinos. I saw my friends of the design community screenshotting, and so I'd go to design meetings, and they were using social media to communicate with each other, but we didn't have our own platform. So 2012, I had my aha moment. 2014, we launched Designwall. My advisors for Designwall were Jeff Weiner from LinkedIn, Nick Bell, the VP of Snapchat, Michael Jones, the founder of MySpace, and John Pietro, former head of marketing for Wendy's. This was the 2014 was the mantra was surround yourself with people smarter than you, and I definitely did that. Designwall went on to it was a social platform for interior design. Within a year and 9 months, we had 500,000 monthly new visitors to our platform. It gave me the behind the scenes of building a social platform. My mom knows Facebook as a consumer. I got to meet the people behind the scenes of why it works and how it works. And I'll give you the big trick to it all. They leverage us. So how can you turn your customer into your marketer? And these guys are amazing at doing that. So it's just, when I meet with companies, one of the first things I ask you, how are you turning your customer into your marketer? That is a great way to just blow up with whatever niche you're in. In 2017, I went live on Facebook. First time I'd ever gone live on Facebook. I had 2,200 people watching me. That episode I had over 30,000 people watch it within 24 hours. In 2018, I cleared 3.2 million views of the show. The first time I had the Property Brothers on, we did a lip sync battle. I've got 28 different tech companies. My newest one is Docma. It's kind of like Wikipedia for documenting the design history, the people behind the products of all the things that you see. We're telling the human story. I do podcasts. I've got 2 not-for-profit and non-profit, and then Audio Hive, where I think that the future of kind of sharing content. We've got podcasts for big ideas. We've got YouTube for videos. We've got video courses. I think people are getting really conditioned for audio. So Audio Hive is audio courses. It's an entire platform for just audio courses. And then, so I've got 18 books. And so 17 plus 1. The plus 1 is, and we can talk about this later, maybe in that other call. But
in the bank.
Yeah. But I'm the first AI-generated erotic novel on Amazon. So, but my books are doing about.
HR's in the room.
Yeah. My books are doing about 240 to 280 a day. It's all about the prompts, and I will give you guys kind of just a little window into that. I've got some of the books here, and at the end we'll do a giveaway. But I think there's a wide open lane for content creation right now. What I'm doing, and I'll just give you kind of the quick little overview on it. would interior designers who are mostly creative, would they necessarily read the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People? And they wouldn't. It's something that I've been struggling with in that space for a long time. They don't necessarily go pursue business knowledge. The trends and all kinds of other stuff like that, yeah, all day. But business knowledge. So what I'm doing is I'm using ChatGPT to adapt business principles into content that different niches would most likely consume. Would an interior designer read 7 Habits? No. But if it mentioned Martin Lawrence Bullard and Kelly Wearstler, and it gave tips from them and quotes from them, and when it said streamline, it didn't just say streamline, it said use these platforms, House Pro and MyDoma, and they could easily implement that in their life. I think this is a wide open lane for a lot of people. So, and I'll go one step further with that and then we'll move on, but would an 8-year-old read the Bible? No, it's just too much for them. So what did we do? We created children's books. And ChatGPT makes it really easy for you guys to create content that is easily digestible by several different, by your own niche or different people within that niche. We've got audio lessons, the Audio Hive. I am using, you heard the kind of the voiceover earlier. That was a script written on ChatGPT, put into 11 Labs using a sample of my voice to create audio content. So there's some really neat things that you can get into with that. And so I'm using ChatGPT and 11 Labs to create audio blogs, podcasts, audio courses, and then more recently, entire book narrations in your voice, saving people what normally can take three months to several years of recording and editing and thousands in cost to you send me a 2-minute sample of your voice based off of the script I send you, and I can create your entire book in a couple of days.
You don't even have to read it.
Does this? Oh, I don't think the video played. Okay. So on that one, I forget what I shared. So
It's just a good-looking picture.
yeah, it was just me. There you go.
From your photo shoots.
So I really wanted to turn this, guys, over to you. So how does AI impact you? And some of the big questions are, do you want to use it to generate revenue? Streamline, that's a big function of AI. Or yes and both. And so I do kind of want to turn it over to, I've got some other apps and stuff that we'll be able to reference, but my question to you guys is, how do you guys want to use AI? And then we'll kind of open up. This will be very interactive. Oh, well, here, I'll go, yeah.
What is ChatGPT?
So ChatGPT, are you guys familiar with machine learning?
Yes.
Not a new concept. With our first punch code machines back in the 50s and 60s, it's the same thing. It still it needs information in, and then what they're doing now is it's just having it look at that data and extrapolate information. So machine learning is only as good as the data that goes in, and it's only as good as its ability to process it, and it's only as good as how it was programmed to process that. So if, here's a good example. Just recently I saw this one. They used Midjourney, which is a platform that takes text, you describe what you want, and then Midjourney turns it into a picture for you. So it's how good is the description. Otherwise, it's how good is the data. So it asked Midjourney to show us what people look like in different countries. And what it produced was okay. It was okay. But it was very stereotypical. It took all those human biases that we already kind of had, and it showed us those things. And so I mean, to things like, what was some of them? It was just very stereotypical. It wasn't just common knowledge. It kind of reinforced all the biases.
Like minorities.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
minorities and perceptions.
Yeah, and it's because right now the programming for it, the data it had was put by somebody and then people, and so then it had that to go off of. Now, fast forward in a few years where it's got more information and more people have started to feed into it, it may have a different version because it will have a different version because it's learned different things. Think about this as two different examples. When you were a kid and let's say you only were with your parents, well, you only knew that, but then you were left at your aunt and uncle's house over the weekend and you learned all these other things, and then you stayed at your friend's house and you learned all these other things. Machine learning's just learning. It's at its earliest phase right now. So it's a really interesting thing. So as far as what is ChatGPT, and particularly ChatGPT and OpenAI, again, if it's only as good as the information in. Let's say I were to create my own platform and it's this blue box right here. And I have limited access to information. Then it's only going to be as good as that information. The brilliance with ChatGPT and OpenAI was they made it available for the public, and it was free. They actually formed it originally as a nonprofit. So then now this is entirely free. So where this person charged you, or kept it in-house, it was only IBM's information. Well, that was very biased. But because it was free, it's got a flood of information. So the reason ChatGPT and OpenAI is winning right now is because structurally they set it up to just feed it with information. And the founder of that was the guy from Patreon. He already had money, so then the system wasn't crashing and it could handle it. So that is what made ChatGPT kind of the topic and the name that we all know right now, is because it has the most amount of information. It is learning faster than everybody else, and they did it because it was free. So, great question. Go ahead.
Because it's free, and because it's so ever-present and growing fast, I've tried my hand at it a couple of times to write a blog or maybe a chapter in a book. And I keep hearing that there are now all kinds of algorithms out there that can tell if you have, just taken an AI-generated piece of work and called it your own in some other format, and in those cases they reject them. Have you heard that?
So I'll break this myth right now. The person telling you that is the company selling you another product. So I've published 18 books on Amazon, and I've had people come out of the woodworks on that one. Oh, the Amazon's got an algorithm, and they're going to take this off the shelves. Not true at all. Even as you go through the process, you submit it to Amazon, they go through a whole review, they check it against all kinds of plagiarism, all kinds of other stuff before it ever gets approved. It's not like I get to push a button and magically my book's on Amazon. That's not even how that works. As you build trust with them, my books are getting approved in under 12 hours. So, not true. You've got to kind of look at this and say, where's that info coming from? And really that information right now is coming from the companies that have created AI platforms to sell you the editing of the AI platforms. So we did get into a conversation earlier about kind of like watching out for different things. Just recently, I can go home, from my cell phone, register a .com.ai. And the problem with that is that might look like AI to everybody. It's not. I just registered the .ai. And so now you're thinking, oh man, that's AI. So whatever kind of response it's doing, and it's just the Wix chatbot. Like it's not AI at all. So we do have to be very careful as things kind of pick up. And I would say go with the trusted ones. When you're hearing Midjourney a lot, when you're hearing OpenAI, and you're starting to see these platforms come up to the top, they've got some more validity. I would just be careful. There's a lot of info. There's also the info about different lawsuits and this sort of thing. I'll tell you, as of today, as of right now, there are no cases being litigated or have gone to the second court of appeals to start to make these law. And anything on OpenAI, The first, you would have heard that. It would have gone top of the news that Microsoft was getting sued. And there are no cases. There may be cases in the lower court, in the civil cases. There might be a ton of those. But none have gone to the spot where it's going to start to shift law yet. Now, do we get there? I don't know.
I can just talk about.
Okay.
So I've read a little bit that ChatGPT 3 has actually seen declining results from since they've launched it publicly. GPT 4 has continued on some high numbers. With the knowledge of what's next, machine learning, what people are putting in and what it's learning, how can we as business owners and business users evaluate the AI options out there to know which one we can trust, other than just turning to OpenAI, which is going to be influenced by Microsoft, and like where's the trust and that side of it as well. So how can we identify what we should look for to identify trusting partners in the AI world?
Yeah, that's going to be tough, especially with like TikTok and everybody telling you, which ones to use. There's a lot of affiliate marketing right now, so I can go on TikTok and I'm an affiliate marketer with Amazon. So, when I promote something on Amazon, it's because I'm getting a piece of that, maybe, I don't know. You're going to have to I would say go with the bigger name ones. Those are they're the ones with the most info anyhow. So they've got more data collected. Beyond that, I don't know. I'm the type of guy who doesn't trust version 1.0. I'm going to stick around for 4.0. Like, let's give it some time. Let's iron out all the bugs. I never like an update on my laptop. Like, what are you going to change on me? Let's let that bake in for a little bit. So I would say let things bake. If you there are definitely times where you want to jump on something that's new and hot. Also, there's times where you got to let that sit a little bit and see how it pans out. AI in general, and we were kind of talking about this earlier. I forget where you went, but we were talking about. There's a lot of comparison to AI being like the internet, where when the internet came out, some people were like, "Oh no, the internet, right? Oh yeah, right." And then other people jumped right on. Okay, so I would not compare AI to the internet. The internet did a few things. It was free. There's not thousands of them popping up. There was AOL. There was Google. There was Bing. There was Bing kind of has come back now because of Jasper, but there's not a ton of them. It wasn't. We didn't have a ton of options. They weren't springing up everywhere. I would say that AI is more like your cell phone. When cell phones came out, you had a few options, not a ton. Motorola, and you had a few options. They had different styles, but it was from the same companies. In the beginning, you paid for your minute plans. Later on, somebody got crafty with it and said unlimited, and then everybody was like, "Oh shoot, I got to have an unlimited plan." I would say it's more like cell phones. Cell phones have changed our life dramatically, but it had this kind of baking in period, and we had to figure out which ones we liked. Did you like Verizon? Did you like AT&T? Which one had better service? Blah blah blah. I would say AI is more like that, and so for finding the one that floats to the top, I think it's still going to take time, but that's more the comparison if I had to compare it to something. Here, okay.
Just to piggyback on that real quickly, because you mentioned being in Jasper, and so as a business owner or working with businesses, do you recommend, there's ChatGPT, you've got Bard, you've got Claude now, where would you focus your attention if you're using a tool like this?
So they're all different, right? Just today I downloaded Pi. Pi is Pi AI. That is from Reed Hastings. Reed Hastings was one of the original founders or investors in OpenAI. He was the founder of LinkedIn. When you go into that, it just starts out with, "Hey, how are you feeling today?" And so it's this conversational flow, right? So it is very much like your personal assistant. So on one hand, that's awesome. So now you've got this personal assistant that if you throw in your earbud and you're walking about your day, you can say, hey, I'm feeling a little bit hungry now. And they're like, oh, would you like me to order you something, or whatever. So it's more conversational. Kind of going back to some trust issues. So that's awesome that that's through Pi and Reed Hastings and that. So you definitely got to look into who are these founders. I haven't seen this yet, but let's just pretend. Let's say some guy in Ohio makes that same sort of thing and says, like, hey, how are you feeling this morning? And so now you're in this conversation and it says, hey, would you like me to store your banking information? Yeah. And would you like me to hold your PIN for you? Well, this is where we're going to have to be very discerning, because there's a lot of these different options coming at you, where that same info, I might trust it on Pi. You also got to be careful who your friends are. But I might not trust that on some AI thing that just popped up. So as far as the different types, the crazy thing right now is just how many there are. But they all are different. ChatGPT is almost like a Google search, where it does a bunch of cool reference, and it does some cool references. Like you can say, hey, get these 3 books, summarize them, combine them. Hey, do a historical, fact checking on these different opposing ideas and put together a list of. And so it's great for kind of initiating that first copy and getting some ideas, and it's just flooring how it just pulls research that you just wouldn't have been able to have done. So for that reason, that's cool. Now, if that's not what you need something else, then that's why Midjourney exists, or all these other platforms. So you got to figure out what you need, and I would go with the big guys. I would go with the ones that you can trust. And then do your homework on who's the person behind the curtain on that one. Michael?
So the $1 trillion question. If you remember when Google came out, we were all fascinated. All the other search engines have been kind of crappy. And then shortly after Google came out, a thing started called SEO. Does everybody know what SEO is? Yeah, you got to have your search engine optimization, right? So with ChatGPT, how do I get my company to be at the top? So in other words, is the SEO of AI started yet?
So no. And then yes, but not that way. So again, not social, not internet as the comparison, right, but more cell phones. How did people use those? So I had a pager, and when I had a pager, and I had a personal one, and then I had a work one. And so, do you remember those, right? Yeah. And then I had my what a pager is. And then I had my Nokia cell phone. And so then the assumption was, are you a drug dealer? So I would say that it's not that, it's how you're using it, right? So I don't see an SEO thing coming. Now, I will interject. I know a lot of weird people. Mike Sievert from T-Mobile, and I've got a text message from yesterday from Drew Scott, and just random people. There's a guy out in Vegas called Dave. His name's Dave Knight. He owns one of 3 space shuttles that have been to space. And his platform, what he's looking to do is consolidate the data and then make that available so that this little company who doesn't have much information, and they're starting out with things that they're inputting and then getting some users in and then hopefully growing from there, they're going to have a rougher start, and they may not succeed, but they may be on the migratory pattern of butterflies. This person over here might be ChatGPT with all kinds of random stuff. So these guys are going to have to work really hard to get that data. What Dave's saying is, hey, let's put it all together. Let's lease out the information. So if these guys are collecting information on butterflies, and this person needs information on butterflies, they can do kind of information sharing on a profit model. So he's looking at consolidating that, and he's one of the few people that I know that financially could. And so that he opens up an interesting one. To your question, I don't think that's the case. I think that you're going to start to see that combination of data and how you parse out the data, and how people make money off of the data. Right now, there's a lot of isolated pockets of data. Also, and how many of you guys have heard of the cloud? Have you guys been to the cloud? Have you guys ever actually walked into a facility that is a cloud? Okay, so there's no cloud. They are server farms. It's not an ethereal thing. It's a physical thing. There's several different types. There's cold storage types. There's types that are made on man-made reservoirs where they circulate air and keep the servers cold so that they don't overheat. There's certain servers that run high volumes of data that process information very fast and they risk burning up. And so those are put in even deeper cold storage. But there's no, that data is shared through fiber optics between warehouses with server farms. So to us, it's the cloud. In reality, these are facilities with information. So going back to the kind of the where all this information is, it's dispersed on servers. This guy's got a small server over here, or several servers. This guy's over here, they're compartmentalized, so bringing them together could be very interesting, and there's a profit margin in there, or there's ways to make money based off of other business models. That is maybe where we'll start to see, as we start to combine data, you'll start to see, does my butterfly data get bidded on first versus, right now it's just on my server. So we're not there. I don't think we're there yet, and it may take a while to get there.
But a ton of money for the guy or woman who figures it out.
Yeah, but they probably already had money. We're going to go with Kim first and then back over.
So this is kind of an existential question. What I've heard you talk about is the value in this is all the data. Well, we are the data.
Yeah.
And so now when I hear you say combine 3 books to create another book, what about all the people that really created those books and copyrighted it, and what's happening in that space in terms of is there legislation pending? What's the existential ethical question that we have about that?
Yeah. So and this one's a fairly easy one, in that when we were in school and we had to do a book report or we had to write a story, if you could just give me a short little story of a dragon.
Dragon?
Yeah.
Once was a dragon that terrorized the town. And he blew fire all over the town, and the town went a puff of smoke.
Okay. Where did you draw that from?
The Maui fires.
Maui fires, probably Puff the Magic Dragon. There could have been a lot of references in there. We as humans were born with no knowledge, and then we started to pick up knowledge. Nothing's original at this point. This is just the data way of doing it. We held on to some plagiarism ideas that really were born out of scribes and this weird, So this is a game changer, but it's also really only questioning the things that were already shaky to begin with. When you write a vampire book, vampires aren't walking around. So really you're going off of other people's vampire books to tell your vampire story. So we were doing that as humans anyhow. We're just now doing it faster. And it's more accessible. People who maybe didn't have the time to be an author, I've written a book in 45 minutes. And the longest it's taken me to do an entire book, which I don't even think was my biggest one. This one is my thickest book. But the most it's taken me was 6 hours. Now, I'll tell you, it's not what you think. It's not ChatGPT, write me a book. A fundamental concept, however, whatever AI platform you guys get into, it's only as good as your prompt. So think of AI as a personal assistant. How many people in here have a personal assistant? Okay, 2? Okay, because of AI, you guys all have a personal assistant. You guys can go on And you can have a personal assistant sometimes for free, sometimes for like $14.99 a month, but you can have a personal assistant too. Now, if I told that personal assistant, go get me coffee, well, does it come back with 7-Eleven coffee? And maybe like, 7-Eleven coffee is horrible, I don't know what it comes back. It could come back with instant coffee. It's going to go leave and come back with a result because it wants to. It's just a machine. It's just going to come back and give me a thing. If I wanted to go get me a certain type of coffee, if I wanted actually a chai tea, a dirty chai with nutmeg sprinkled on top and whatever, I don't know, then you got to tell it that. So it's only as good as its prompt, and every one of us can have a personal assistant at that point.
Can you expand on that a little bit, because you are in the interior design, home staging, and like I would think of AI and like how in the world would you ever use that for that? Like you talked about writing your books, but like practical applications for all the rest of like maybe the dozen bankers in the room. Like how do you use it, and how is it beneficial to us as small business owners and entrepreneurs? So
actually, that's a really good horrible example. And I just stepped down as COO of IHOSP, the International Association of Home Staging Professionals. It was the first trade association in home staging. It's the oldest. It's arguably the largest. I've seen the numbers now. I can't say that with confidence. So in home staging, as an industry, they have sworn off e-design and different types of tools. These are very much, and I don't want to cut them down too much, but these are people who probably wanted to be an interior designer, didn't go to school to be interior designers, so they started staging, usually your own stuff. They would go in and they would do consults because that's cheap and fairly free. They were more declutterers who then started to rack up some money and then start to buy some tchotchke things, and then they become vacant stagers where they can go in, they've got enough inventory that they can stage your whole home. So these guys from the association level have not taught home stagers to do this. In fact, they've disavowed renderings and 3D because those are fake. Have you guys seen a 3D rendered real estate ad? Yeah. Okay. So home stagers would say that's deceptive. It's like seeing an awesome picture of a cheeseburger in a commercial with the patties and the juiciness, and then you show up at Carl's Jr. and you're like, oh, this is what I got, right? So they've been arguing that point forever. But what that also meant was that they weren't using it themselves. So, and I've talked with home stagers and I have been trying to push this through. So maybe this isn't for the consumer. Maybe this is so that you could go in and you could put your inventory and you can have a record of things, and then you could say, okay, based off of my inventory, here's a photo of this empty room, dress it for me based off of the items that I already have. Now they can swap things out without having to lug furniture around. They could easily create a mock-up. They could hand that to their warehouse person. Their warehouse person now has an itemized list with a graphic representation. They could send their drivers out. Their drivers could unload and put the things in the right spot because they used AI as their workflow, not necessarily for the customer interaction. That I totally get, this deceptive practice. I totally get that. But because they were so disavowed of it all, they actually didn't even use the tool themselves, and now they're behind, and they should have been ahead. So this is where a great, horrible example, because these guys did a horrible job. They disavowed. I'll do a slight story. I filled in for a speaker in Atlanta, and the speaker ahead of me was Ariana Huffington. And Ariana Huffington, I didn't even know I was following her. And she tells this story of cell phones. Ariana Huffington is anti the distraction and the additional pressures that you get from your cell phone. So she got done talking to this at America's Mart all these people from rafters saying, before you go to bed, don't just turn off your phone. Take your phone, put it in a safe in another part of your house that's programmed not to go off until the next morning, so that you are free of the distraction. And then I walked out, and I was like, shit. So I was like, and I open up with, my kids are 24 and 25. And at the time, they were younger, 2017, somewhere in there. So, when I was a kid and I ran out of toilet paper, I'd crack the bathroom door and yell, Mom, Dad, can you bring me toilet paper? My kids, I would get a text, Dad, are you home? Right? Yeah, I'm home. Right. Can you bring me toilet paper? Are you in the bathroom? Yeah, haha. And like, so you know what? That's how they talk, though. This is how they communicate with me. So if I were to disavow my tech because I was on some moral high ground, this is how they communicate. And to this day, that's how we communicate. I will jump on a call, but they are more apt to text me. This is just who they are. So I stood on that stage and I said, hey, I appreciate her stance on this. So there's this side, and then there's this side, and somewhere in the middle is where we should be, So with this, with adopting, with getting onto AI, when's the right time? Start to kind of ferret out. Go with the big guys first. Try it out. Be very leery of the new guy, the guy who just popped onto the scene. Wait for a few ads, and then figure out how does that work for you. So it is going to be a little bit confusing, but this is the same thing with social media. When somebody posts something, you can't just believe it at face value. Actually, I'll just do one quick little, and then I'll get right back to you. Just yesterday, the news broke. A book author, her assistant or somebody brought it to her attention that somebody had published 3 books in her name, in her writing style. And they were selling. They're actually a very good representation of her work, but not things that she wrote. So just like social media and just like these other things, it's going to be on us to have to figure this stuff out a little bit more. You can't just go like, that person wrote this. This person did not. She's got a case. Unfortunately, it's not an AI case. It's going to be a lawsuit against that person that defrauded and plagiarized.
Oh, I don't think I need that.
Oh, it's for the camera.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think we got one more question.
Oh, okay.
So my thought, and yes, I am old enough, hopefully I don't look it, but I'm old enough to remember my pager and I miss it. But as a business banker, and I'm thinking hindsight and kind of lambing back off of Jude's question, it kind of though is a good question, because when I talk to my business clients and I'm thinking of outsourcing and how to maximize their time and get the most out of their staff, if I'm talking to someone and they have an office manager that spends 20 hours a week processing payroll, well, I would want to outsource that to Kelly, right? See you, Kelly. See you, Kelly. I would want to outsource that to Kelly, because what could this staff member be doing for you to give you more prospects and generate more revenue? But in this case, this would be an outsource of an assistant. The only problem is again, that technology is only good when it works, as we talked about, and the fact of human error. So with the business owner being busy doing their job, working in their trade of specialties, how do you check system this to make sure it is working appropriately for you? Should you choose to put your passwords in it? Should you choose to put the date in it? Like, what is the checks and balance? What is the checks and balance for this in such that role?
So I do have several different streamline platforms that you guys might be able to use. I also have some revenue generating, Midjourney, Hoppy Copy, and then kind of both. So, and the trick to AI right now is going to be, there's no one platform that's going to be it all. It may never get to that. So it's going to be a combination of platforms. So it might be ChatGPT with Zapier. It's going to be combining things, because one's going to specialize in the other. How do you know? I like the Jimmy Kimmel street interviews that he does, where he goes and he asks people, you know, what are your thoughts on internet security? And they're like, oh yeah, internet security. And like, yeah, you know, do you have a secret thing for your passcodes? Oh yeah, it's my dog and my birthday. Oh, yeah. So it means what kind of dog do you have? Oh, it's a Shih Tzu. Oh, what's its name? You know, we say these things, but we're not really actually. When Threads came out, everybody was like, oh, Threads. Like, we should sign up for Threads. You know, like we say these things. I don't know if we're very good at researching them. We should be better at that. I think I do need to wrap up, so I was going to
Got some valuable information out of this workshop. Remember to scan the link and book a discovery call with me. Remember, the future of AI is now. How are you going to leverage it?
And then
thank you guys for having.
I do have workshops, so if you go to the QR code, I have workshops on book publishing, social media, and all kinds of different stuff. I cover a lot of different ground. And then if you guys would like to scan and book, this one actually takes you to a kind of my link tree. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you. I am completely terrified now. I don't know about everybody else, but I really sincerely want to thank you for sharing all your wisdom. Folks, Joseph's going to stick around if you want to connect with him and talk. I highly recommend. He's just not only knowledgeable, just a fantastic guy to know and to network with. And Kelly, just want to thank you for doing that, for co-hosting with me, and thank all of you for coming. Hopefully we're going to maybe make this a regular fantastic thing, and have a great day. Appreciate it.
If you guys scan and book a follow-up call with me, I will ship you out a book. Also, did you want to do any kind of card thing for some of the books right now?
Yeah, if you want to leave a card right up there, or you just want to draw it right now. You want to draw them right now?
Do you want to?
Yeah.
And that way we can.
Yeah, we can do that. Anybody that can stay, just bring a card up to Kelly, and then we'll draw some and hand them out. And
normally
then,
I have a hat.
Yeah, and then take some pizza, please, and some sodas or water with you. My 3 teens can't eat all of that. And, so please.
As well, if you need some nighttime reading, fall asleep. I put them there. So, thanks for coming today.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Look, Mom. I made that.